way in from the...
I always wanted to ask, when you were doing Pan, were you channeling John Huston when you were doing that? Because
Yeah, I mean, there's a backstory on this because I actually went a little crazier to a voice that I thought was actually like some sort of Midwestern Peter O'Toole, and then Warner's made me ADR my whole role and make it sound more like me. So if you're saying that I sound like John Huston, then I take that as a wonderful compliment.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm like, does anyone else get what he's doing but me? You know, in this. Garrett, how you doing, bud?
Very good, yeah.
Man, powerful film, really powerful.
Thank you.
And I want to know, as an actor, because you've done a lot of movies where you play somebody from another time or a fantasy, or so this is, you know, post World War II, sharecropper, Mississippi, miserable settings, rural America. Does that really help an actor get into character?
Actually, I mean, I grew up on a very rural farm in northern Minnesota, and our town was 2,500. We lived about 30 miles out on the farm, and it was a similar situation. I mean, the cattle we raised and the livestock, I mean, ultimately that we had was not for, you know, commercial dispersal. Like, ours was just to put food on the table. So it was very easy for me to relate with this kind of struggling southern, you know, farming away. Obviously, I had an older brother and my father that I was, you know, farming land with as well. So it was, and my brother actually lives in Vegas, so a little shout out to that. But
hey, brother.
and I ultimately left the farm at an early age to sort of ultimately, you know, aspire into the arts and you know, and to become an actor, which is what Jamie had done in this. So I had a lot to sort of relate to in the story.
Jason Clarke being your brother in the movie too, so there's all kind of connections there.
Yeah, and I'd known Jason for quite a while before, and even just prepping for this film, him and I had taken a road trip from Memphis down to New Orleans, and we stayed in a little town in Mississippi, Greenville, Mississippi, and we stayed at these like 1920s cabins called Tallahatchie Flats, and we just kind of hung there and spoke as old men from the Mississippi Delta, and you know, read some Norman Mailer and
just prepared.
Yeah.
And you also, your scenes with Jason Mitchell, do you rehearse that kind of like a play, or did you guys have alone time? Because you had some intense moments alone.
It was more alone time. We never really had time for rehearsals. The rehearsal process that Dee had us do was actually quite unique. I mean, you know, it was maybe 30 minutes in a room of just looking at each other in the eyes, and she just wanted to see how we responded to feeling kind of just uncomfortable. She would have us write letters to each other as our characters to give to the characters in a time that we thought would be useful for them, for the scenes that they were about to embark on. And we only had a week before starting this film to rehearse, and so him and I just tried to spend as much time together. And ultimately, we became very close because both, you know, our grandfathers were all soldiers, and we got to tell each other stories that they told us, and it sort of assumed the tonality of the way we got to sort of express the dialogue within the scenes.
And you know, you knew the Klan was coming in this film, and those scenes seemed to be just really burn into your memory. On the set, was there an understanding before doing those intense scenes like that, or? Yeah,
I think, you know, I mean, I'll steal like off of Jason on this, you know, from Jason's perspective on this, he felt like it was harder for the crew and harder for the guys that were wearing, you know, the hoods than it was for him, because he's accepted what he's getting into. Everybody else was, you know, they didn't want to be violent, and it was him and I that were forcing, you know, them to sort of snap out of it and just kind of, we all knew what we were getting into. Dee set a very intimate set for it. And there was just an understanding that there was going to be a brutal scene, and we just all tried to fulfill the script, the story, and the pain and the brutality of that time.
Remarkable job.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, man.
Thanks.